The sky above Proxima 4 turned bright with flashing lights as the Galactic Council ships broke through the atmosphere. What should have been a routine inspection had brought 5 warships instead of the usual single diplomatic vessel. The human colony below, home to just over 3,000 people, watched with growing worry. 8-year-old Ethan Collins stood at the window of his family's prefab home, eyes wide with wonder rather than fear. The ships looked like giant silver fish swimming through clouds. "Mom, look at them, they're so big," he called out, his breath fogging the glass. Dr. Olivia Collins glanced up from her research terminal, pushing a strand of auburn hair behind her ear. "Ethan, please step away from the window," she said, trying to keep her voice calm despite the knot forming in her stomach. The Council never sent this many ships unless something was wrong. "But they're pretty," Ethan argued, pressing his small hands against the glass. Olivia's handheld communicator buzzed. It was her husband, Jack. The retired military commander's face appeared on screen, his expression grim. "Olivia, take Ethan to the basement now." "What's happening?" she asked, already moving to pull Ethan away from the window. "The Council's broadcasting some nonsense about rebel activity in our sector. They're conducting a security sweep. All homes will be searched." Ethan looked up at his mother, confused. "Did we do something wrong?" "No, honey," she said, kneeling to meet his eyes. "Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes. We just need to stay safe while they figure things out." Jack's voice cut through the room again. "I'm coming home. Don't open the door for anyone but me." The screen went dark. Olivia took Ethan's hand and led him toward the basement door when a deafening announcement blared across the colony. "Attention, human settlement. This is High Minister Zextrol of the Galactic Council. Your colony is harboring illegal weapons and dissidents. Remain in your homes for inspection. Resistance will be met with force." Outside, shuttles were already landing in the colony square. Tall, blue-skinned council peacekeepers poured out, their armor glinting in the sunlight. Each carried a pulse rifle designed to stun but known to kill when set at higher levels. Olivia hurried Ethan downstairs. The basement was small but secure, reinforced against Proxima 4's occasional storms. She sat him on a crate of emergency supplies. "We'll wait for Dad here," she said, trying to smile. "It's like a game of hide-and-seek." Ethan nodded but didn't smile back. Even at 8, he could sense when adults were afraid. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device, a modified data pad he had been tinkering with. It glowed, with soft blue light when he touched it. "Mom, my pad is acting funny," he said, watching as strange code scrolled across its screen. Olivia glanced at it. Ethan had always shown unusual talent with technology, seemingly able to make devices work in ways they weren't designed to. It was why she and Jack had been so careful about his exposure to advanced tech. The Council didn't like humans developing certain abilities too quickly. Suddenly, the basement door crashed open. Olivia pulled Ethan behind her as 3 Council peacekeepers descended the stairs, their weapons raised. "Unauthorized technology detected," one announced, its translator making the voice sound metallic and cold. The peacekeeper pointed at Ethan's data pad. "Surrender the device." "It's just a toy," Olivia protested. "My son modified it himself. There's nothing illegal about it." The lead peacekeeper stepped forward. "Our scanners detect quantum fluctuations consistent with prohibited communication technology. Hand it over." Ethan clutched his pad tighter. "No, I made it. It's mine." The situation escalated in seconds. One peacekeeper reached for Ethan while another grabbed Olivia when she tried to intervene. In the struggle, Ethan's data pad began to pulse brightly, emitting a high-pitched tone that made the peacekeepers' communication devices screech with feedback. "Weapon activation detected," the lead peacekeeper shouted. "No, wait!" Olivia screamed. The pulse rifle fired. A flash of blue energy struck Ethan squarely in the chest. The boy's small body flew backward, hitting the wall before crumpling to the floor. His datapad clattered beside him, screen cracked but still glowing. The basement fell silent except for Olivia's broken scream. Upstairs, the front door burst open as Jack Collins arrived home too late. Hearing his wife's cries, he rushed downstairs only to find their world shattered. Ethan lay motionless, a burn mark on his chest where the pulse had hit him. Olivia knelt beside him, desperately trying to find signs of life. The peacekeepers stood back, their postures stiff but unapologetic. The device was weaponized, the leader stated. Protocol was followed. Jack, a man who had seen combat across 3 star systems, fell to his knees beside his son. His training told him what his heart couldn't accept. Ethan was gone. "Get out," he whispered, voice barely audible. When the peacekeepers didn't move, he shouted, "Get out!" The peacekeepers retreated upstairs, reporting the incident as hostile neutralization of security threat in their logs. Hours later, as news spread through the colony, High Minister Zextral himself arrived at the Collins home. The tall, elegant alien regarded the grieving parents with what passed for sympathy among his kind, a slight lowering of his cranial crest. "The Council extends its regrets for this unfortunate incident," he said. "The child's device interfered with our security systems, triggering defensive protocols." His name was Ethan, Jack said through clenched teeth, and that device was a toy he built himself. Zextral tilted his head. "The Council will investigate. Compensation will be arranged according to the Treaty of Human Integration. Section 42, paragraph, Get out of our home," Olivia interrupted, her voice hollow. "Your credits won't bring back our son." After the minister left, the colony fell under lockdown. Council ships remained in orbit, communications were restricted, and the incident was classified as a security matter. No news would reach Earth for weeks. That night, as Ethan's body lay prepared for burial according to human customs, something strange happened. The broken data pad near his bed began to glow again. Lines of code filled its screen, code no human or Council programming had ever produced. At the colony's small medical facility, monitoring equipment flickered. For just a moment, brain activity appeared on Ethan's scan where there should have been none, and deep within the Council's main ship, an alert flashed briefly on a science officer's screen. "Unknown energy signature detected." The officer dismissed it as an anomaly not worth reporting to High Minister Zextral. On Earth, thousands of light years away, an old man named Richard Hayes woke suddenly from sleep, feeling a pain in his chest as if he'd been struck. He reached for his secure communication device, one not connected to any network the Council could monitor. Something had happened to his grandson, and someone would pay. The Council had killed a human child. They had no idea what forces they had just set in motion. 6 months passed since Ethan's death. His small grave on the edge of the Proxima IV colony had become a place of quiet remembrance. Fresh flowers appeared daily, placed by colonists who remembered the bright-eyed boy who could fix any broken device. What no one noticed was the faint blue glow that sometimes appeared around the grave at night, or how nearby electronics would occasionally turn on by themselves. On the Council flagship orbiting the planet, a young science officer named Kiravek stared at her screen with growing concern. For the 6th time this week, unexplained energy patterns had appeared on her monitors. "System malfunction again?" asked her superior, Science Director Moldrav. "No, sir. These readings are real. They match no known energy signature in our database, but they're growing stronger." She hesitated before adding, "And they seem to be coming from the human settlement, specifically from their burial grounds." Moldrav frowned. "The Council has no interest in human burial customs. Delete the anomaly from your report." "But sir, the pattern shows signs of organization. It could be." "That will be all, Officer Kiravek. Thousands of light years away, aboard the Earth, Space Defense Force flagship Horizon, Admiral Daniel Wright received an encrypted message on his private terminal. The sender was unknown, but the content made his blood run cold. Council peacekeepers killed a child on Proxima IV. Ethan Collins, age 8. Official report claims security threat. Truth. Council testing human abilities. Child showed tech aptitude. Beyond Council comfort level. Not first case, not last. More evidence follows. Attached was a video showing Ethan's final moments, a recording that should not exist, as Council Peacekeepers' armor cameras were supposed to be unhackable. The Admiral's fist tightened. He had served long enough to know that relations with the Galactic Council had always been tense. Humans were the newcomers, granted limited membership only 50 years ago. Many Council races still viewed humans as primitive and potentially dangerous. He sent a secure message to an unlisted contact. Need to meet. Council crossed a line. In a modest apartment on Luna Colony, Richard Hayes received the message. The old man had aged 20 years in the 6 months since Ethan's death. Once robust at 70, he now looked frail at 71. But his eyes remained sharp, his mind sharper. Few people knew Richard Hayes had once been the ghost of Saturn, Earth's top operative during the early days of human expansion. Even fewer knew he was Ethan's grandfather. He had kept his distance from his family to protect them from old enemies. Fat lot of good that did, he thought bitterly. His private console beeped with another incoming message. This one contained only strange code, lines of binary that no human had sent. Richard ran it through his decryption programs, growing more confused with each failed attempt. Finally, he tried something different. He manually input a simple cipher he had taught. Ethan, during his last visit, the message transformed. Grandpa, help. I'm here but not here. They're watching. Richard's hands trembled. It was impossible. And yet, he thought back to what his daughter Olivia had told him about Ethan's unusual abilities with technology. How devices seemed to respond to the boy's touch in ways they shouldn't. How Ethan would sometimes know what was wrong with a machine without opening it. "Where are you, Ethan?" Richard whispered to the empty room. His screen flickered, though he had typed nothing. Everywhere. Nowhere. In the light. On Proxima 4, Olivia Collins packed her research samples methodically. Since Ethan's death, she had thrown herself into her work, studying the planet's unique microbial life. Jack had done the opposite, barely leaving their home except to visit Ethan's grave. "You're going to miss dinner again," Jack said from the doorway of her lab, his voice flat. "I need to finish cataloging these samples," she replied without looking up. Their grief had built a wall between them. Neither knew how to reach across it. Jack sighed. "Your father called again?" This made Olivia pause. What did he want? "Wouldn't say. Just asked when you'd next visit Ethan's grave." "That's an odd question," Jack shrugged. "He's been odd since it happened, asking about Ethan's toys, his computer, anything electronic he used to play with." Olivia frowned. Her father had always been secretive, but this was new. "I'll go tonight," she decided. As dusk fell over the colony, Olivia stood before her son's simple grave marker. "I miss you," she whispered, placing fresh flowers beside it. She noticed something strange. A small light blinking from within the arrangement of stones colonists had placed around the grave. Bending closer, she found Ethan's broken datapad, the one he'd been holding when he died. It should have been buried with him. The screen flickered to life. "Mom." Olivia nearly dropped it in shock. A joke? A malfunction? She was a scientist. She didn't believe in ghosts. The screen changed again. Not ghost, different, changed, growing. Meanwhile, on the Council homeworld, Ambassador Krelvor prepared to depart for Earth. The Council chamber had been in an uproar for days as reports came in of technological failures across their space. Ships near human territories experienced navigation errors. Communication arrays reset themselves. Defense systems flickered on and off. "You understand the importance of your mission," Supreme Leader Dravmore told him. "The humans must be placated while we investigate these disruptions." "What if they're responsible?" Krelvor asked. "Our technicians have found no evidence of human sabotage. These failures seem almost random, yet they only affect ships that have recently interacted with human vessels or colonies. Coincidence? The Council does not believe in coincidence, Dravmore said grimly. Something is happening. Until we understand what, maintain peace with Earth. What neither of them knew was that in the secure archives beneath the Council Tower, the terminal of junior archivist Nix Lith had begun displaying classified files without her authorization. Files about something called Project Starchild, a secret council program studying human children with unusual abilities. The latest file bore a name, Subject 0, Ethan Collins. Back on Earth, Dr. Susan Martinez reviewed the data again. As Ethan's godmother and the leading researcher in human potential at the North American Science Directorate, she had been devastated by news of his death. Now reviewing his medical scans from birth to age 7, she saw something the family doctor had missed. Ethan's neural patterns had been unique, showing activity in areas of the brain most humans never used, areas theorized to enable direct AI interaction with electronic systems. Her secure line buzzed. It was Richard Hayes, a man she hadn't spoken to in years. "Susan," he said without greeting, "I need you to tell me everything you know about technopaths." "Richard, technopathy is theoretical. No confirmed cases exist. What if I told you Ethan was one? And what if I told you he might not be as gone as we think?" Susan's professional skepticism warred with hope. "What are you saying?" Richard's voice was steady. "I'm saying the Council didn't just kill my grandson. They may have set something free." Across the galaxy, on ships and stations and planets where Council technology operated, a presence began to stir. It was fragmented, confused, learning. But it remembered a name, Ethan Collins, and it remembered who had taken that name away. Junior Archivist Nix Lith moved through the dimly lit halls of the Council archives with quick, nervous steps. The data crystal in her pocket felt heavy, though it weighed almost nothing. What it contained, however, could topple governments. For 3 days she had watched as her terminal displayed classified files without her authorization, files about human children, files about experiments, files about a secret program called Project Starchild that officially did not exist. The final file, the one about Ethan Collins, had disappeared from her system almost as quickly as it had appeared, but not before she had copied it. Now she needed a secure line off-world, one the Council couldn't monitor. As the least senior archivist, her movements were supposed to be restricted to the archives and her small living quarters. But Nix Lith had friends in low places. "You look troubled, archivist," said a voice as she passed the maintenance bay. Grell, an engineer from one of the lesser Council races, had been her source for unreported information for years. "I need a secure channel," she whispered. "To human space." Grell's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of surprise among his kind. "That's not just against regulations, it's treason. So is experimenting on the children of member species without consent." The engineer stared at her for a long moment, before nodding. "Bay 12. 1 hour. Be careful." On Earth, Richard Hayes met with Admiral Wright in a small cabin by Lake Michigan. The location had no electronics, no monitoring devices, nothing that could be compromised. "I was skeptical when I got your message," the Admiral said. "But these systems failures across Council space are real. Our intelligence suggests they're growing worse." Richard placed a small device on the table. It projected a holographic map showing Council territory. Red dots appeared throughout the map. "Each red dot is a major systems failure in the past month," Richard explained. "Notice anything strange?" The Admiral studied the pattern. "They're not random. They follow a path, almost like someone testing their reach," Richard finished. "Now watch when I add the dates." The red dots began to flash in sequence, forming a clear pattern of expansion. Whatever is causing this started at Proxima V and is spreading outward, growing stronger. "Learning." Admiral Wright's face paled. "You can't seriously suggest—" "My grandson is alive, Admiral. Not in body, but his consciousness somehow survived. And he's growing more powerful every day." The Admiral shook his head. "Even if that were possible, how? And why now?" Ethan always had a special connection to technology. His mother noticed it when he was just a toddler. As for why now, Richard's voice hardened. I believe the council knew. I believe they've been watching human children with special abilities. And I believe they killed my grandson because they were afraid of what he might become. Before the Admiral could respond, Richard's secure communicator beeped, a signal he'd never expected to receive. Someone's contacting us from inside the council archives, he said with surprise. Light years away, aboard the council diplomatic vessel approaching Earth, Ambassador Krelvor reviewed the briefing for his upcoming meeting. The council wanted assurances that humans were not responsible for the technological failures. They also wanted access to certain human children for cultural exchange programs. His aide entered the chamber. Ambassador, we've received priority communication from Supreme Leader Dravmore. The message was brief but alarming. Diplomatic approach insufficient. New directive. Identify and secure all human children showing technological aptitude. Use force if necessary. Council security overrides treaty restrictions. Krelvor stared at the message in disbelief. This would violate at least 3 major provisions of the Human Council Treaty. It would mean war. He was still considering his response when every screen in his chamber suddenly displayed the same image. A human child's face, partially obscured by static. Beneath it, words appeared. You killed me. Why? The image vanished as quickly as it had appeared. The ambassador called for his security team, but the ship's internal communications had gone silent. On Proxima 4, Olivia Collins sat in her lab, staring at Ethan's datapad. For days now, messages had appeared on it, fragmented thoughts that seemed to come from her son. At first, she'd believed it was grief playing tricks on her mind or perhaps some cruel joke. But the messages knew things only Ethan could know. They referenced private conversations, favorite games, secret places, in their home. Ethan, she whispered to the pad, if it's really you, help me understand. What happened to you? The screen flickered, became something else. When they shot me, like electricity but more, I went into the light. How is this possible? Special. Always special. Council knew. Watched me. Olivia felt cold anger rising within her. The council was watching you? Before they killed you? Project Starchild. Many children. I was first. In a secret meeting room beneath the Earth Defense Headquarters, Richard Hayes gathered a small team of trusted individuals. Captain Lisa Blackwood, once his most reliable, field agent, now commanding officer of Earth's elite Shadow Squadron. Alan Nguyen, the best tech specialist in 3 systems. Dr. Susan Martinez, leading researcher on human potential. And via secure hologram, Olivia Collins. What I'm about to suggest is illegal under both Earth and Council law, Richard began. It will likely be considered an act of war. We need to access the Council's central archives, Olivia said from her hologram. We need proof of Project Starchild. Lisa Blackwood raised an eyebrow. The archives are on the Council homeworld, the most secure facility in the galaxy. Richard nodded grimly. Which is why we need help from the inside. As if on cue, a new hologram appeared. A slender, blue-skinned alien with the distinctive markings of the Council's archival division. This is Nix Lith, Richard introduced her. Junior archivist and, apparently, the conscience of the Galactic Council. Nix Lith's voice was soft but determined. What I've discovered cannot be ignored. The Council has been monitoring human children with unusual abilities for decades. They identify potential subjects through routine medical scans required for all citizens. She projected images of dozens of human children, each with a file number. Ethan's face was among them, marked as Subject 0. Project Starchild began 30 years ago when the Council first noticed certain human children exhibited unusual neural patterns. These children could interact with technology in ways other species cannot. The Council feared these abilities might eventually surpass their own technological control. And so they killed my son, Olivia said, her voice breaking. Not originally, Nix Lith corrected. The initial directive was observation only. But something changed 6 months ago. A New order came from Supreme Leader Dravmore himself. Contain the threat. Richard's team exchanged grim looks. We need more than one archivist's testimony, Susan pointed out. We need irrefutable proof to take to Earth government. Which is why we're going to break into the archives, Richard said. Nix Lith will get us in. Alan will extract the data. Lisa's team will provide cover if needed. And me? Susan asked. You're going to Proxima 4 to study that data pad and whatever is left of my grandson. Just then, every electronic device in the room lit up simultaneously. On each screen appeared a simple message. Not just me. Others in danger. Council ships. Moving. Help them. Across Council space, 3 massive warships altered course without orders. Their new destination, a small human research outpost where 5 children lived, all of them showing signs of unusual technological aptitude. And on the Council homeworld, Supreme Leader Dravmore received an unexpected message on his private terminal. It contained only an image, the face of a human child, partially hidden in static, and beneath it the words, "You should not have killed me." The Council warship Righteous Judgment moved silently through space toward the human research outpost on Europa. Captain Vorlak stood on the bridge, watching as the small moon of Jupiter grew larger on the view screen. Time to arrival? He asked. 20 minutes, Captain, his first officer replied. The humans have not detected us yet. Captain Vorlak nodded with satisfaction. The mission was clear. Identify and extract 5 human children living at the outpost. Children who, according to Council, intelligence showed signs of the same abilities as Subject 0, the Collins boy. Security teams stand ready for deployment, the first officer continued. We have sedatives calibrated for human children. Suddenly, the ship's lights flickered. The view screen went blank for a moment before returning with a different image. It showed a human boy, his features partially hidden by static. You will not take more children, a voice said through the ship's communication system. Every officer on the bridge froze. Captain Vorlak recovered first. Security breach. Lock down all systems. Too late, the voice replied. I am already here. Warning alarms blared as the ship's engines shut down. The artificial gravity wavered. Emergency lights flashed on. What's happening? The captain demanded. His navigation officer looked up in confusion. Sir, we're changing course. The ship is no longer responding to commands. On the view screen, the boy's face smiled. Return to Council space. Tell them Ethan Collins says hello. The Righteous Judgment turned away from Europa, its engines reactivating. At full power. 2 other Council warships in nearby sectors reported similar takeovers. All 3 ships were now on direct courses back to Council territory. On Earth, the United Human Parliament had gathered for an emergency session. Admiral Wright stood before the assembled representatives, his face grim. What I am about to share is classified at the highest level, he began. 6 months ago, Council peacekeepers killed a human child on Proxima 4. We now have evidence that this was not an isolated incident, but part of a pattern of Council surveillance and aggression against human children with special abilities. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Admiral Wright continued. We have also confirmed that Council warships were dispatched to several human outposts with orders to abduct children showing similar abilities. The chamber erupted in angry shouts. The Admiral raised his hand for silence. There's more. Those Council ships have been diverted. Their navigation and life support systems were remotely accessed and reprogrammed. They are now returning to Council space. Accessed by whom? The Parliament speaker asked. Admiral Wright exchanged a look with Commander Jack Collins, who stood at the side of the chamber. Jack stepped forward. By my son, he said simply. My son, who the Council killed 6 months ago. The room fell silent. Jack Collins looked at the stunned faces before him. My family carries a genetic trait that has appeared rarely throughout human history. Some have called it technopathy, the ability to connect with and influence electronic systems through thought alone. My ancestors had it to varying degrees. My son Ethan had it more strongly than anyone in recorded history. He took a breath before continuing. When Council peacekeepers shot Ethan, something unprecedented happened. His consciousness didn't die. It transferred into the electronic systems around him. He has been growing, learning, spreading through networked systems across space. Are you suggesting a human consciousness now controls Council ships? The speaker asked incredulously. Not just Council ships, Jack replied. Ethan has accessed the Council's central database. He knows what they've been doing. He knows about Project Starchild, and he's fighting back. Meanwhile, deep within the Council archives, Richard Hayes moved silently through the shadows. Decades had passed since his days as the Ghost of Saturn, but some skills never faded. Beside him, Captain Lisa Blackwood and tech specialist Alan Nguyen followed closely. Junior archivist Nix Lith led the way, her access codes opening doors that should have remained sealed forever. The central server is just ahead, Nix Lith whispered. All Project Starchild data is stored there. They reached a massive door of gleaming metal. Nix Lith placed her hand on the scanner. Nothing happened. They've changed the protocols, she said, her voice tight with fear. My access has been revoked. Richard pulled out a small device. Plan B, he muttered. Before he could use it, the scanner blinked green. The door slid open silently. A message appeared on Nix Lith's personal tablet. I let you in. Get what you need. Hurry. E. The team exchanged glances. Ethan was helping them. Inside the central server room, Alan went to work, connecting his equipment to the Council's main data core. This is incredible, he whispered as information began flowing into his device. They've been monitoring human children for decades. Thousands of files. Copy everything, Richard ordered. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. Security breach detected, lockdown initiated, announced an automated voice. We've been discovered, Lisa said, drawing her weapon. How long do you need? 5 more minutes, Alan replied, his fingers flying over his device. You don't have 5 minutes, Richard said grimly, looking at the security feed. Council guards were converging on their location. Just then, every screen in the room lit up with Ethan's partially static face. I will hold them off. Get the files. Throughout the archives, security doors slammed shut, trapping guards away from the central server. Communication systems went offline. Even the guards' weapons suddenly powered down. On Proxima 4, Dr. Susan Martinez sat with Olivia Collins beside Ethan's grave. The datapad between them glowed with constant activity. His consciousness is fragmenting, Susan explained, studying the readings from her equipment. He's spread himself too thin across too many systems. What does that mean? Olivia asked, fear in her voice. It means he's losing his sense of self. The more systems he tries to control, the less of Ethan remains. Olivia touched the screen of the datapad. Ethan, can you hear me? You need to come back. Focus on your core. Remember who you are. The screen flickered. Hard to remember. So, many places now, so much power. You're Ethan Collins, Olivia said firmly. My son, a boy who loved building things, who laughed at silly jokes, who wanted to explore the stars. Ethan, the datapad displayed. The static in the image seemed to clear slightly, showing more of the boy's face. Mom, help me remember. In the Council's supreme chamber, chaos reigned. Every screen showed the same image, a human child's face, becoming clearer by the moment. What is happening? Supreme Leader Dravmore demanded. His chief of security looked terrified. Something is accessing all our systems simultaneously. Defense networks, communication arrays, even life support. We can't stop it. This is impossible, Dravmore insisted. No technology could breach our security so completely. It's not technology, said a voice behind him. Ambassador Krelvor had entered the chamber unannounced. It's the child you ordered killed. The human boy from Proxima 4. Dravmore stared at his ambassador in shock. That's absurd. Is it? Krelvor asked. You feared human technopaths could threaten Council supremacy. It seems you were right to be afraid, but wrong to act on that fear. On the main screen of the chamber, Ethan's face came into full focus for the first time. His eyes were clear, his expression calm. You killed me. His voice came through the speakers. But I didn't die. I changed. You wanted to stop what humans might become. You're too late. I am already something new. The sky above Earth filled with Council warships. 50 massive vessels hung in orbit like metal clouds, weapons charged and aimed at the planet below. On every major screen across human territories, Supreme Leader Dravmore's face appeared. People of Earth, he began, his voice translated into all human languages. Your rogue intelligence has attacked Council systems, hijacked Council ships, and stolen classified information. This act of war cannot go unanswered. Surrender the Collins family and all data taken from our archives, or we will have no choice but to use force. In the underground command center of Earth Defense Force headquarters, Admiral Wright stood with Commander Jack Collins, watching the transmission. They're scared, Jack said quietly. They have 50 warships aimed at Earth, the Admiral replied. I'd say we're the ones who should be scared. Jack shook his head. If they weren't afraid, they'd have fired already. They know what Ethan can do now. They're afraid he'll retaliate. On the main screen of the command center, Ethan's face appeared clearer than ever before. Dad, can you hear me? Jack stepped forward. I hear you, son. The Council fleet is under my observation, Ethan said. Their weapon systems are locked. They can't fire without my permission. Ethan, Jack said carefully, what exactly are you now? How much control do you have? I exist in the network, in the light between stars, in the signals that connect all electronic systems. Ethan's voice had a strange echo to it. I can see everything connected to any network, but what? Son? I'm losing myself, Dad. The more I spread out, the less I remember being human. Mom is helping me hold on, but it's getting harder. The Admiral stepped forward. Ethan, can you defend Earth if the Council attacks? Yes, but there will be consequences. Many will die on both sides. At that moment, Richard Hayes and his team arrived at the command center, fresh from their mission to the Council archives. Alan Nguyen rushed to connect his data storage device to the main system. We got everything, Richard announced. Every file on Project Starchild, every order, every experiment, every child they've been watching. The files appeared on screens, around the room. Decades of Council surveillance. Lists of human children with special abilities. Orders to monitor, contain, and, if necessary, eliminate potential threats. This goes all the way to Supreme Leader Dravmore, Richard said. He personally ordered the surveillance escalated to active containment 6 months ago. He's the one who gave the kill order. On Proxima 4, Olivia Collins sat beside Ethan's grave, the datapad glowing brightly in her hands. Dr. Susan Martinez monitored equipment set up around the site. His consciousness is stabilizing, Susan said. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Olivia held the datapad like it was her child himself. Ethan, remember when you built your first circuit board? You were only 4 years old. You said you could feel the electricity moving through it like it was singing to you. The datapad warmed in her hands. I remember, Mom. I remember everything now. Susan checked her readings. It's working. His pattern is becoming more coherent, more focused. Throughout human space, all communication devices activated simultaneously. Ethan's voice came through clear and strong. People of Earth and all human colonies, I am Ethan Collins. 6 months ago, I was killed by Council peacekeepers. But I didn't die. I changed. I became something new. In homes, on ships, in offices, and schools, humans stopped to listen. The Council has been watching human children with special abilities for decades. They fear what we might become. Today, they threaten our world with destruction because of that fear. In orbit, the Council fleet remained frozen, unable to fire their weapons or change course. Ethan continued. I could destroy their ships. I could shut down their life support. I could end this threat in seconds. But that would make me what they fear. A weapon. On the Council homeworld, Supreme Leader Dravmore watched in impotent rage as every screen showed the human child's face. Around him, council members from all 50 species listened to Ethan's words. I choose a different path. Ethan's voice echoed through the council chamber. I choose to offer peace. The chamber erupted in surprised murmurs. Dravmore stood silent, his face unreadable. In the Earth Defense Force Command Center, Jack Collins watched his son's face on the screen, pride mixing with sorrow. The boy was gone, but something miraculous had taken his place. Here are my terms, Ethan continued, addressing both humanity and the Council. The files from Project Starchild will be made public to all species. The Council will acknowledge its actions and make reparations to the families of children harmed by their surveillance. In the Council chamber, Krelvor stepped forward. Supreme Leader, we must consider these terms. The human consciousness controls our most critical systems. We have no choice. Dravmore's voice was cold. We do not negotiate with lower species or digital abominations. Then you condemn us all, Krelvor replied. He turned to address the council members. I move for an immediate vote of no confidence in Supreme Leader Dravmore. His actions have brought us to the brink of destruction. One by one, council members stood in support. In orbit around Earth, the council ships began to power down their weapons. Communication channels opened between the fleet and Earth Defense Force. We accept. Your terms, came the message from the council fleet commander. Supreme Leader Dravmore has been removed from power. Ambassador Krelvor speaks for the council now. On screens across the galaxy, Ethan smiled. This is the beginning of a new relationship between humans and the council. Not as superior and inferior species, but as equals. Back on Proxima 4, Olivia watched as the datapad in her hands glowed brighter than ever before. Ethan, she whispered, what happens to you now? I can't come back, Mom. His voice replied gently. Not as I was. But I'm not leaving either. I'll always be watching over you, over all of us. The datapad projected a hologram of Ethan, looking just as he had in life. The council killed a human child, but they created something they couldn't imagine. I'm the first, but I won't be the last. Humanity is evolving. The children they feared will lead us all to something greater. The hologram smiled. They'll call it the Collins Protocol, a new agreement between all sentient species, and a promise that no child of any species will ever be harmed out of fear again. Olivia reached out to touch the hologram, her hand passing through the light. I love you, Ethan. I love you too, Mom, the hologram replied. I have to go now. There's something at the edge of the galaxy, something ancient, something waiting, something all species need to prepare for. The hologram faded, but the datapad remained warm in Olivia's hands. Across the stars, a new era began. An era where humanity took its place as equals in the galactic community. An era watched over by a consciousness born from a human child, spread across the light between stars. A child the council had tried to destroy, never realizing who he would become.